Snow drifted lightly down upon the pine trees, dusting the rooftops of the forest with a glimmering white. It was early morning in the little wooden house on the edge of the clearing, and all was calm, save for Masha, who was anything but calm. Masha had woken with a sense of anticipation she hadn't felt since her last birthday. She bounded out of bed, tossing aside the heavy blanket, pulling on thick woolen socks. This morning, her eyes shone brighter than any ornament. Today was the day. "Bear!" she cried as she burst from her room, her adult voice echoing down the hall in the little cabin she now shared as a close friend. Call it a found family, with the most patient brown bear in the forest. Bear, whose real name was never uttered by his forest friends, not out of secrecy, but simply habit, was already up. He stood over the kitchen counter, methodically slicing oranges and cinnamon sticks for his morning tea. He glanced over his shoulder with a bemused sigh. "Bear," Masha continued, hastily donning her heavy coat, "do you know what today is?" Bear simply raised an eyebrow, his fur speckled with flour from his ongoing pastry experiment. Masha pressed on without waiting. "It's Christmas Eve." "Well, almost. The calendar says so." She held up, proudly, a makeshift calendar, the squares awkwardly penned in, one of which was ringed 3 times in red marker. Bear didn't need a calendar to know the date. He had lived through more winters than he could count, and every year, he followed the same rituals. But Masha was relentless. In her mind, and perhaps, secretly, his as well, each year was a chance to experience wonder anew. She clapped her hands, her breath pluming in the cold air. "We have so much to do. The tree needs to be decorated, the ornaments need to be polished, and you have to finish your famous candied chestnuts." Bear offered a patient grin. He reached for his scarf, wrapped it around his neck, and with a gentle motion, prodded her toward the door. One thing about Masha, she needed some direction, or else the day would be spent in frantic dashing rather than actual preparation. The two friends stepped outside together. The clearing was blanketed in fresh snow, the sky above a pale, icy blue. The very air sparkled. "First," said Masha with dramatic emphasis, "we must find the perfect Christmas tree." Bear, never one to rush, considered the selection. The forest, after all, had trees in abundance. But for Masha, it was an expedition. They wandered between firs, spruces, pines, a tapestry of green and white. Masha inspected trees with a seriousness that would impress a botanist, occasionally dismissing one for being too crooked, or another for being, in her expert opinion, too spindly. At last, they found it, a fir, tall and symmetrical, its branches strong and welcoming. With a theatrical sweep of her arm, Masha declared, "This is the one." Bear chuckled softly and, with practiced care, began to dig out around the roots. It was important, after all, not to just take. Bear's traditions, passed down from his own kind, perhaps from a wilder life, always involved planting a new sapling nearby. Masha, grown as she was, had learned to appreciate such balance.